Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for September 26th, 2025. This is the end of quarter 3 for 2025, and I have 20 brand new albums to check out this week, 12 that are out today, 8 that I missed along the way. Normally I do more than this, but my body and mind has told me to slow down as I've hit almost 1,000 albums this year, so I think doing 20 to cap off quarter 3 is mighty nice. So let's get into it. First up, we have Abraham with an album title that I'm absolutely going to butcher, and I apologize for doing so. Idsungwüssä, a Swiss band that's been around since 2011, right when I started doing my thing, and today marks their 5th album. The band has never been conventional and has always strived to find their own path when it comes to post-metal, sludge metal, atmospheric metal, etc., and their latest album pushes the boundaries even further. It is also the final album of a trilogy of albums that conceptually work together in a way that I won't spoil here, but it's worth investing some time to learn what these albums are about. The music goes into the farthest recesses of what the band is capable of, with some of the most crushing riffs they've ever done, some of the strangest tones they've ever made, and some of the most melodic and ear-catching moments as well. When you look at the context, everything does make sense, even if it doesn't seem like it would. The production makes the music perfect, and the songwriting, while seeming odd on paper, works so well in execution, and when it clicks, it clicks. To get what's going on conceptually, I wouldn't start with this one, and I would start with the album Here Comes the Dark, the first album of the trilogy, but if you want to see what they're all about musically, this is a great album to start with. The band has always been underappreciated outside of their circles, and I've always dug them. And if you want a strange take on these genres, but also a very intriguing one, check out Abraham. Now we have Amorphi with Borderland. In a world that is always focused on making the heaviest album to date, it is great to see a band like Amorphi not take this approach and make one of the most melodic and diverse albums of their career. With the Finnish band's 16th album, it takes elements of albums like Silent Waters, Halo, and my favorite, Skyforger, to make an album that focuses on the strongest elements of the band outside of their death metal era, to create some of the best work of their entire career. While the album does get quite heavy and the growls are still intact, it is not the focus of the album. It has songs that show off the progressive metal side, the folk metal sides, and a song that could easily have been a disco hit in the 70s if they just changed it just a little bit. It's one of the most well-rounded albums of the band's career, and it makes me happy to see the band just making the music they want to make. The production fits like a glove, and the songwriting is endlessly inspired. If you were looking for the band going back to their heaviest elements of like Tales from a Thousand Lakes, you'll be disappointed. To everyone else, Amorphi is in top form, and this album showcases the band's peak songwriting ability and performances after all of this time. Not every band gets to say that. What an incredible album. Next up is a band name that I hope I get right, Hei'An with Kiss Our Ghost Goodbye. The sophomore album from the Slovenian band caught me by complete surprise in the best of ways. While there are elements of the current climate of 2020's modern metal here, there is so much more to the music. I can hear pop, rock, electronic throughout all of this, but it always feels like just a spice to the music's flavoring. The best aspects are when they showcase the heavy side of the band with the right hooks that can sucker in almost anyone. While the band has gone for a more mainstream approach compared to their debut, which is much more of a progressive post-metal style, the band does such a great job of still channeling those early elements into the sound and making it more accessible to a mainstream crowd. Think of it as a best of both worlds approach. The production is beyond slick and polished, and the songwriting is so catchy for my taste. This won't be for everyone, but if you're looking for that niche of modern metal, alternative metal, and progressive post-metal, you need to see what this band is all about. Now we have last Retch with Abject Cruelty. Sometimes you just want some down and dirty, gross and grimy, old school death metal. That's exactly what you get with the sophomore album from this Canadian death metal act. It's everything you love from bands like Cannibal Corpse, Bolt Thrower, Carcass, and a little bit of the experimentational side of death, while keeping things cohesive and a dark message over it all. The production is just raw and human enough to feel pulverizing. The album covers everything from cannibalism to the state of the world, and in 2025, that couldn't feel more appropriate. It also comes in with 8 killer songs and leaves you bloodied and broken after less than 28 minutes. This is a hard and fast old school death metal album. If you want that kind of quick hit for that style of devastating old school death metal, check out what Last Retch is all about. Up now is another band name that I've always gotten wrong, but I'm going to try my darndest here. Mors Principium Est with Darkness Invisible. The legendary Finnish band has returned with their 9th album, and it is quite a spectacle to behold. It is the second album after all of the big changes that happened back in 2021, and I think enough time has passed to judge the band on their current merits. and they have done a magnificent job with it all. The band is hitting some of the heaviest material of the band's career, but still leaving in the orchestrations, melodies, and harmonies that have always made the band stand out amongst the rest. It is fantastic to see the band have this fire lit underneath themselves and creating some of the most inspired music of their career. The production feels real and human while hitting this crisp and clear style, and the songwriting is endlessly enjoyable if you enjoy this style. It's grand, orchestral, theatrical, and it sucker punches you with melodies, harmonies, and hooks that'll be stuck in your head for days. If you somehow have never heard the band before, but enjoy the likes of Calma, Insomnium, Winter Sun, and Flesh God Apocalypse, you need this band, and I do mean right now. Up now, we have Overt Enemy with Insurrection. I have had this promo for almost a year now, and I'm not kidding. I got this back in October of 2024. I've heard it so much that I feel like I covered it last year, but alas, the debut album from this Texas band hits like a ton of bricks, even after all this time and this many spins. It has that fine line between the intensity of thrash metal and the right kind of groove metal that is not in your typical band. The production feels like enough of a throwback, but it is updated for 2025, and the songwriting rides that thrash and groove roots to the best of their abilities. 10 songs, 36.5 minutes feels perfect for what the band is trying to achieve here and still leaves you wanting more. If you love the thrash of Slayer, the thrash groove of Terra, and the groove of Lamb of God, and even a band like Kilgore, Overt Enemy is doing exactly what you need. Now we have Paradox with Mysterium. 10 albums into the career of this project, and it feels like this band has been going strong for 38 years and hasn't lost a step. This hits all the right elements of thrash, speed, power metal, and other elements to continue the sound of the band, but updated just enough for the 2020s. The production feels like that late 80s sound in the best of ways, and the songwriting can go all over the place, but it's still cohesive and enjoyable the entire ride. Also, the guitar solos on this album are just out of this world, and they hit you just long enough to be effective. This is an album that is easily acceptable for anyone who enjoys the likes of Flotsam and Jetsam, early day Angel Dust, and especially Heathen. If you need a healthy dose of power, speed, and thrash, check out Paradox. Here we have Revocation with New Gods, New Masters. I was so scared I wasn't going to be able to cover this one, but thankfully I got the promo, and I'm so happy I got to cover Revocation once again. The 9th album from this long-running Boston band is one that I've loved since the beginning. I love everything they do, from the genre-bending days of Forms of Chaos to the pure death metal insanity of Nether Heaven. Revocation has never lost a step, and this time around, the band covers everything from the fears of what AI can do to the future to straight-up body horror worship, and you know the song I'm talking about. The album also features a ton of guest appearances from the likes of Travis Ryan of Cattle Decapitation, Luke LeMay of Gore Guts, and Johnny Davey of Job for a Cowboy, showing the diversity of the sound in a dense, deep, and dark album. There's an argument that this is the band's heaviest album, depending on your definition of heavy, and I appreciate what they're going for here. They are hitting moments of near deathcore on this one, while mixed in with the band's signature tech death, thrash, death metal, and light genre bending, although I don't think those days of Chaos of Forms is ever coming back. Production is pulverizing and the songwriting is outstanding from beginning to end. This has everything I loved about the band while continuing to expand upon their core sound. Revocation has done it again, and they've made one of the most realistic displays of death metal in 2025. Now we have Royal Sorrow with Innerdeeps. The debut album from this Finnish progressive metal band is a wonderful display of how to make things proggy and poppy at the same time. The music can get unbelievably heavy for the genre, and it has some of the most crispest and cleanest choruses that rival bands that have been doing this style for decades. The production is unbelievably polished, and it hits so hard coming out of your speakers. The songwriting can feel like it goes all over the place if you're not familiar with the genre, but it also feels so concise and effective if you know what to expect. Also, the themes of the album are unbelievably heavy with its look at the mental state of humanity, and it hits harder when you're familiar with the subject, much like myself. This is for the likes of anyone who enjoys Hei'An, Leprous, Caligula's Horse, and especially Voyager. This is a welcome display of what prog needs to be in 2025, and if you need that as well, give Royal Sorrow a proper listen. Now we have Sainthood Reps with Dull Bliss. The third album from this Long Island band is their first one in 12 years, and my first foray into the band. While it does hit some ground that isn't my bag, there is enough of the post-hardcore and shoegaze aspects that does grab my attention, and it does not let go. It is quite heavy for the genre while exploring some more emotional side of things that hit a little too close to home at times, especially lyrically. If you were looking for a more subdued album compared to what I normally cover, but enjoy the likes of Deftones, Fugazi, explosions in the sky, and mogwai, Sainthood reps may be exactly what you need. Of course, it all depends on how much you enjoy the alternative metal, new metal, that kind of stuff when you listen to it, but even if I'm saying that, I think there's some good merit to it, and you should give it a shot. And now there's Terra Atlantica with Oceans. The fourth album from this German outfit hits everything you love about the pyrometal aesthetic of power metal, but done with a much more finesse and enjoyment compared to other bands of the genre, if you know what I mean. Don't get me wrong, if you're looking for bands like Ailstorm, Visions of Atlantis, Timeless Miracle, and Twilight Force, you're going to get all of that and more here. What you will also get is pristine, clean vocals, a songwriting style that is as fun as it is prolific, and a wonderful vision of what it's like to explore the seven seas, even if it's just in your own mind. It's just endlessly fun from beginning to end, with its genre bending and seriousness to make the songs feel like they're at the best of their abilities. The songwriting feels real, and it's so appropriate. If you want a near 50-minute album of a different approach to pirate power metal, check out Terra Atlantica in all of their glory. And lastly, for brand new albums out today, we have Villain of the Story with The Love You Took Away. This Minneapolis band is the first time I've actually checked out the band, but I am loving what I'm hearing. The fifth album from this band hits such a sweet spot of melodic and modern metalcore, while hitting these perfect moments of modern hard rock that feel so catchy and should resonate with anyone who enjoys even the most mainstream of rock music. To those who enjoy second wave metalcore of the 2000s as well, the production is slick and polished, and the songwriting is exactly what it needs to be without any fluff. At 9 songs and around a half hour, this album does exactly what it needs, leaves earworm after earworm, and will leave you wanting more. This is for those who enjoy the likes of I Prevail, Parkway Drive, and Breaking Benjamin. If you want that, you will have a new obsession with Villain of the Story. And now for all the albums that I missed along the way, starting with Athorn, or Athorn, it's one of those, with Human God Machine. The third album from this German band has blown me away in all of the right ways. It hits these levels of power metal, thrash metal, progressive metal, with hints of Melodeath thrown in just at the right spots to make the music more dynamic and instantly catchy, no matter what your music tastes are. The production is human and hits hard with the songwriting, knowing when to do the peaks and valleys of the dynamics without going overindulgent or leaving out too much. It's a sweet spot for anyone like myself who needs bands that remind me of Mercenary, Nevermore, and Soilwork. If you need this as well in your life, give this band your proper and full attention. Here we have Autrest with Burning Embers, Forgotten Wolves. The sophomore album from this one-man Brazilian band is a project to hold near and dear if you enjoy atmospheric black metal side of things. Firstly, the production on this album is off the charts for the genre, which is known for being so raw and bleak. The vocals could stand to be brought up just a little bit though. The songwriting on this one will sucker you in, as it is so grand in scale without ever losing focus. It hits dynamics that fit perfectly with the tone of the music and feels as dark as it does majestic. I can hear everything from Seor to Eldamar to Summoning here, and I'm all for it. If you want a band of this style of black metal that knows how to sound grand and heart-wrenching at the same time, this band is doing things that will go down in the subgenre's history in a short amount of time. Just you watch. Here we have Serin with The World Outside. Wow. Just wow. This is my kind of progressive metal through and through, and I wish I had paid more attention to them in the past. Granted, this is their third album since 2004, so the opportunity really hasn't come up much, but still, this hits me so hard emotionally, like the best of Pain of Salvation, the proficiency of bands like Dream Theater, and the occasional harsh vocals that hit as hard as At the Gates or even Carcass. It hits so much of what brought me into the heavier sides of metal over 20 years ago, and fits like an old pair of shoes. The production is stunning, and the songwriting is quite long, with every track being 10 minutes plus, but for prog fans, that's par for the course. This is such an underrated album, and it deserves the love if you love the dark side of progressive metal. Just one listen, and I think you'll be sunk in, so do so now. Now comes I Prevail with Violent Nature. Well, I use I Prevail so much for examples for comparing bands of the style of modern metal. It's time that they actually put out an album so you can see why I use them so much in examples. This band feels like the poster child of what 20s modern metal is all about. They can get near deathcore elements and breakdowns, they can get as hard rock radio friendly as any band on your local FM rock station, and they have these genre bending moments that feel so user friendly to as many genres of music as possible. On paper, it may seem pandering, it may even go towards the lowest common denominator, but in execution, the music truly works as long as you dig the music that they're doing. If you're diehard against the mainstream, you might as well steer clear, as this is not going to appeal to you. But to everyone else, there are elements here that will instantly appeal to you, and every song is catchy in its own way, no matter how poppy or heavy it gets. The production is slick and polished, the songwriting has so many layers to it, and it makes for such an intriguing listen. If you want to see what 2025 sounds like in modern metal, I Prevail has it covered. Also, check out the YouTube channel Drum Beats Online for behind the scenes stuff on I Prevail, like when they're in the studio or on the road, plus, of course, tips on drumming. It's quite an enjoyable watch. Here we have Jalusic with Apolitical Ecstasy. The sophomore album from Dino Jalusic is such an enjoyable album from start to finish. The album explores so much of his strengths while pushing himself even further to showcase why he is one of the best vocalists in the scene today. Hitting so many different styles of music from progressive metal, hard rock, groove metal, classic metal, and more. The music has this core sound to it all, but like a rubber band, it expands so far and snaps back when needed. You can hear as much Whitesnake on this album as Symphony X or even Pantera. This sounds wild on paper and maybe shouldn't even work, but Dino finds a way to wear his influences on his sleeve and still make everything his own. If you just want a hard-hitting album that couldn't feel more appropriate for the times that we live in, check out what Dino Jalusic is all about when he's out on his own. Like a drifter, he was born to walk along. Oh, you know what I'm doing here. Now comes Lorna Shore with I Feel the Everblack Festering Within Me. While not the first band to do this style, Lorna Shore has become the poster child of what symphonic deathcore is all about. With 2022's Pain Remains, they launched themselves into the superstardom in the extreme metal world and showcased that deathcore can be so much more than breakdowns, blast beats, and pig squeals. But don't get me wrong, all three of those are very much intact on this one, but it's everything beneath the surface that makes this album shine through the darkness. And there is so much darkness on this one. It's the symphonic elements, it's the genre bending, it's the dynamics, the songwriting that makes this more than just a one-trick deathcore pony. They show how much life can be in these genres that they cover, and how mixing everything together will create a sound that you will either love or despise. I am closer to the former, although there is the occasional pure deathcore elements that I still need to be won over by one day. This is what you do to take a foundation of a sound and improve upon it in every single way. While it may not be the best symphonic deathcore album this year, it's still a little too early to tell. It is in contention, but so many bands have taken their example and expanded it upon themselves, making the genre even better than before. This won't be for everyone, but if you fall into this category, it's going to be hard to top Lorna Shore has done for the extreme genres, and to have it have a mass appeal like they have in 2025. This is how you become the frontrunner of a genre and continue to make it your own. Here we have Stoned Jesus with Songs to Sun. The sixth album from this Ukrainian band came to my proper attention after the band called me out on this very channel for not covering them on the September 19th edition of Out Today and What I Missed. So I decided to give them a shot and see what they were all about. And looking back through my emails, I did get the promo for this, so, I just simply can't get to every single release that comes my way, despite how it may look with how many reviews I've done this year. So getting past all of that snark, I'm heavily enjoying this one. This does not do the conventional Sabbath worship stoner doom that is so associated with this genre. There's so much more dynamics, and the music is more than what I expected from, and I am floored by it. This is the kind of album that I wish more bands associated with the genre and try to accomplish to show that there is more to it than repeating the same riff over and over for 20 minutes. You can write real songs with real meaning behind them. Looking at the lineup, it does help that 2 ex-members of White Ward are in the band now, which is probably another reason why I love the album so much now. Mix in a killer production style and an earnest approach to songwriting, and you may have the best stoner metal album of 2025, bar none. This is why I always encourage people to let me know about new albums, as I easily could have let this one slip by. I'm so glad that I didn't. And finally today we have Werewolves with The Ugliest of All. What can I possibly say about Werewolves that I didn't cover with their last album Die For Us back last year? Well, they somehow continue to maintain the sound that they have mastered since 2020 and continue to find a way to improve on every single release. The music is absolutely crushing and giving you just enough room to breathe throughout the album before you get pummeled in the dust once again. And of course the hilarious sound clips makes the album that much more enjoyable. This is an album for those who absolutely love and hate hate the metal genres, but it's done with such an earnest intent that it's nearly impossible to hate it if you get it. While not groundbreaking, revolutionary, or reinventing the wheel, that's never been the intent. They make the strongest material possible in a way that challenges every other band in the genre to try to top it. For the extreme metal genres, this is easily a contender for the best of the year, and off the top of my head, I don't know any other band making this style of metal that can do it better. This is simply how it's done. And there you go, folks, another 20 albums down, 840 albums that I've covered so far this year, and a closing to quarter 3 of 2025. So what do you think? Did I cover some good stuff? Did I cover some bad stuff? Anything that I should include? Just like that Stone Jesus album, please let me know if I do miss anything so I can actually see what everything's about. I don't get to cover everything. Please let me know all of that and more down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And make sure to come back in a couple days when I do every album I reviewed in September 2025, and come back next Friday as we hit Out Today and What I Missed for the most evil month of the year, October, with October 3rd, 2025. Until then, for Heavy Debriefings, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skull hit.